Good morning and welcome to the fourth hour. Always great to have you along. This issue of the state penitentiary, I think, is a really, really important one for the state and for our community. With the prison currently being located in Sioux Falls, there's a lot of conversation about a new prison, and if so, where do you build it? And a lot of opposition, and I think also a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of misinformation. So I want to, first of all, let's give a nod to our friends over at Kelloland TV. Kelloland TV has been doing some pretty good reporting on the status of the prison, taking viewers inside of the prison, letting them see. And I'm going to share portions of that this morning. The governor, and we'll start with the governor. Governor Larry Roden was talking about it yesterday. And I want to share a portion of his comments. Governor Roden was doing um, as governors have done in years past during the legislative session, giving updates, holding a news conference. And this was the first official news conference for Larry Roden since he became governor, and talking about the prison. And this is not very long, so I want to share it with you. And again, this is coming from the folks at Kello TV.
Table and
Hold on, I'm going to roll that back. It's an auto start. But here is Governor Roden talking about a new prison and, in his opinion, the need for one.
But I think when the facts are on the table and the legislators have a chance to be informed and see what's at stake, and the ones that haven't, I've encouraged any of the legislators that have doubts to take a tour of the prison, as I did, because even from the place that I was coming from, to take that tour left a strong impression on me. Just to see the conditions that we have with that current facility, it's a dark feeling just being in there. It is so gothic and so outdated and so impractical. You saw in the news last night in the camera crawling over plumbing.
I'm going to show you this in a minute.
From point A to point B. When I was there, we ran into a nurse that was carrying medical supplies, and I think there were blood tests or something, a tray. And I pictured her trying to do a balancing act, carrying this full tray, crawling over plumbing to get to her next destination. Just things like that. Showers, you go down a narrow stairway all the way to the bottom of where they have the group showers, and shower heads hanging on rusty pipes, and you look up at the ceiling, you see concrete crumbling from the ceilings. We need to resolve that, and it needs to be this year. So I'm not going to talk about failure. I would say this: failure is not an option. We have our backs against the wall. It's a miracle we haven't been sued as a state to this point.
I would agree.
And so we're going to get this fixed.
So there you go. This was the governor, and that was a piece. That was actually him in the news conference that he was doing yesterday. He was talking about what's going on at the prison. There is, and again, I want to give credit to Kelloland TV here. That's the video that I just showed you. That was from Kelloland TV. Now, that was an open news conference yesterday. The governor having, updating media on what's going on in the state legislature. And the issue of the prison is really front and center. There's a lot of misinformation, I think, that's out there regarding this. And one of the things I mentioned this on the air this morning, I want to repeat it here. I want to talk to folks who have knowledge of the situation, and rather than just, open phone lines and get, emotional reactions, there's already a lot of that's out there. I mean, social media, you can't top social media for all of the hysteria that is going on right now over the conversation about the prison. And so a lot of hysteria on social media. And I think then the best disinfectant to that kind of just really kind of almost manic, reaction that some people are having regarding this is information. Information. Let's talk to people. And then I would like you to make up your own mind. Make up your own mind as to whether the state needs a new prison or not. So, KELOLAND TV, again, let's give credit to KELOLAND TV, our friends across the street. Kello Radio, not affiliated with KELOLAND TV, but they have been doing, I think, some really good reporting on this. So they had, I want to share another video with you. This is Dan Santella, and I want to share a portion of this. And again, I'm just going to remain quiet. This will wind up being at least, we're probably, I kicking it in here past some of the initial talk. So probably 3 minutes or so, but I want you to see this and you get an idea. And as you just heard the governor talking about it, here now you can see this is what he was referring to. So I'm going to roll this and I'll full screen it here so you can see what's going on.
And the walls are crumbling. The foundation is displaced. We don't have adequate
cell
space for our offenders. We don't have adequate showers for our offenders. And there's absolutely no treatment space without them having to travel across an outdoors area.
Secretary of Corrections Kelly Wasco and Director of Prisons Amber Perelia, who is interim warden of the penitentiary, both accompanied us on today's tour.
Can you imagine
this
walking
hallway
through
where
that?
Inmates are transported had a prominent place on the tour, with Wasco playing the role of an inmate and Perelia and DOC Major Cody Hansen acting as officers accompanying the offender. You can see the challenges.
So we would come this way. The inmate would have to step over first. And then as she's stepping over, one of us would have to step over just so we keep continuous contact. And we would wait. And then we would go on our way.
You might notice that this piping isn't exactly in the best condition. There's a reason for that.
They're dented because so many times we've used restraints over here. And just the usage over time, they get dented from the restraints for how many inmates will go back and forth.
That's the
Back
South
when this
Dakota State
facility opened,
Penitentiary.
the Civil War's end was recent history, and Wasco says attitudes have changed since then.
We don't have the type of inmates in 2025 that we had in 1881. The people in 1881 were repenting their crimes and their sins. Today we have a much more brazen type of offender. And so our staff are walking by and often being fluid assaulted or having objects from the cell thrown at them and hit them.
To be fluid assaulted might include spit or urine launched at staff. Wasco and Perelia sing the praises of the people who work here in spite of its notable challenges.
I can't express how proud I am of the staff that work here. The staff are what keeps everything going day in and day out.
I have some of the most professional staff in the business. I'm very proud of the staff in this facility. They do a very good job with what we've given them, but I think that it falls on our shoulders that we have to do better and give them a better environment to do their job safely.
Dan, you mentioned perhaps the most
again, I want to give credit to KELOLAND TV, as you were seeing there. That was the that was the piece that they have been airing. In fact, if you go to their website right now, KELOLAND.com, that segment that I just showed you is the first piece that they did, part 1. Part 2 is up right now at KELOLAND.com. I think that went up this morning. So if you want to see more from inside of the state penitentiary, go to KELOLAND.com. Again, that's TV's website, and you can get more details there. So again, as I mentioned to you, one of the things I'd like to do on the Greg Belfrage Show moving forward is to get information rather than working the phones and getting a reaction. And there may be a time for that. But I think social media, everybody is out there screaming about it right now. I had Sioux Falls Police Chief John Toom on the program this morning, and he was talking about his time and having been in seeing the state penitentiary. And, he said, thinking about it 2 different ways. He mentioned, you have the perspective of the prisoner, but what about the perspective of this, from the perspective of the staff that is working there? Can you imagine the video I just showed you, you're escorting a prisoner over pipes. And I don't know what's going on with the former warden of the penitentiary, because he's out there saying, oh, this is absolutely untrue. And then that's fueling all of this stuff on social media, that's untrue. You got current officials, the governor of the state, who are in disagreement with him. In fact, the governor didn't mention the warden by name, but he said, I've been there. Don't tell me that's not, I have seen it. I have been there. So there's a lot of misinformation that's out there. So let's correct that. Let's get information to people. Let's know what we're talking about. There are plenty of things that, Super Bowl's coming up, that we can, nonsense stuff that we can get all worked up about. When it comes to our state penitentiary and the need for it and the threat to workers and the safety of inmates, I think it's time for the grownups to take control of that conversation and say, oh, wait a minute, let's all settle down. Let's take another look at what's happening and what's going on there. So I wanted to share some of that with you today. That's something I'll be working on the radio show as we move forward in the days ahead. So I'm going to leave it there for today. I want to thank you so much for letting me join you. I appreciate it. Hit the like button before you leave. That would be very much appreciated. And I want to wish you a great weekend. You take care. I'll see you again